Close your eyes for a minute. Close your eyes for a second.
Hi, Posh fam. Now, I was expecting a lot from this particular episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. However, I was so underwhelmed. Now, knowing we came from a massive, huge revenge P-gate, you would think that this particular episode would deliver in terms of the fallout from that. It didn't deliver for me. It felt very performative. It felt very rehearsed. It felt very fake and inauthentic. We're going to get into most of the scenes that happen, but I want to say this. Brittany is, I can confirm, in my opinion, she's unstable. She is unstable and will be a liability to this franchise going forward. Now, we're talking about someone who pretty much when she was in high school was a delinquent. I'm going to use that word because given all of the revelations and from her confessionals, what she has said, she has had a very checkered, colored past, and she is letting us in that when she was in high school, and we're thinking high school, you're in your teens, yeah? So she probably was a very troublesome, ill-mannered child. I'm just going to leave it there. Now, of course, we open this particular episode 6, with Edie, and this is 48 hours after the fact. Now, before I continue, I want to say something, because at the end of episode 5, production said they had to stop filming with Kenya Moore following investigations as a result of Revenge P-gate. Okay, now this is 48 hours after the fact. Now we go back to episode 4. They did not make any comment with regards to a temporary pause to investigate the alleged weapon theft that was made. Now I'm thinking, how did it take you guys only but 48 hours to investigate thoroughly and decide we're going to halt filming? There's a bit of bias here, and I think this particular suspension was as a result of, okay, we're just gonna not film with her, let's see how this plays out, let's see. Nah, because you don't investigate. I would have thought that this whole thing would have said, okay, a week after, and I'm like, yeah, okay, it made sense for them to take a pause, for counseling to be involved. I mean, people were literally outraged. They felt uncomfortable. They felt traumatized. There was a traumatic incident that happened. We would say that. And you are only telling us you had to take a pause for 48 hours? To do what exactly? What happened? Anyway, we're going to leave that there. Now, these are all of my observation. Of course, we see Brittany milking victimhood for all it's worth, you know, put it up a show. Because I don't think this affected her as much as she's trying to make us out to believe. Don't get me wrong. Do I think what Kenya Moore did is wrong? Absolutely. Uncalled for, unwarranted. There was other avenues to have handled this, given how malicious and catty these ladies can be. There were other avenues in order to revenge or take your revenge or seek revenge. And so for this whole reaction, assuming that they are all true, Brit claims to be humiliated. Yes, we can see that. Claims that her reputation is over. Girl, your reputation has already been under the rock before you came on the show. You are trying to embellish and, you know, build your reputation back up. I don't think this particular incident ruined anything because we already saw it for what it is. We can see it. You are actually doing more harm than good, still filming. And that's my opinion. Okay, she claims that her insurance license is on the line. Girl, when she said that at first, I was like, hang on a minute, give me a second. Only fraud perpetrated by you and your business, because it's your business, would make the insurance board have you under investigation or scrutiny. Because besides, you're not working for a company, you have your own business. And this is what you said, Brit. Is there something else we are missing here? So I was like, hang on, nah, something isn't adding up. But then guess what? Angela clocked it back for her, let us know that this girl is on some BS. And BS it was. Okay. She was crying to her husband about her reputation and then trying to tell us, so this was all what she did in high school during her teens. She did webcam, basically PORN for what is what, okay, during her teens or early 20s, as she said. Now, I am still not sure about the timeline. Okay, she's very nasal, so it's hard to hear her very well. Most of the rhinoplasties that was done by most of these girls seem it is redone. Like they went to the shady surgeon at the back house or back gutter house, back clinic to get it done, because it's giving them more nasal problems than it should. They need to get it rechecked. We did see that one of Keyamo's posters, it was part of the before and after look of Brittany. Well, looking at Brittany, it is mom, because mom was here on this event. You could tell how her nose walked back how her nose looked back in the days. Anyway, the husband trying so bad to, feign empathy. He doesn't have it in him. There was no empathy shown by this guy. This guy looked like he was trying not to laugh, pretty much. One thing he said for sure was it had to be done in a wrong place, which was at Kenya Mall's brand opening. And, given all the tears that she gave, her mom came on. She also tried, to sell us the victim situation, which I didn't buy. She didn't want to start with her family dynamics. The mom said, clocked her there and said, don't say much. Don't say much. Don't give them too much. I'm like, okay. Your mom is like telling you, don't reveal all our secrets, girl. You better pipe it down. I'm only here to support you based on the disgrace you've afforded me all through your teenage years. And here you are trying to clock our family dynamics on TV. Nah, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm like, yes, mama. Let her know what time it is. She pretty much now is trying to tell us that her family dynamics has changed. They are now kumbaya because of this incident. Okay, Brittany. We hear you, but is it clicking in? Absolutely not. Kelis did try to, come in and comfort her. Now, all of the things Kelis did was what I was expecting her husband to do. And that didn't happen. Kelis brought a lady, an IV, a nurse to hydrate them, just some female R&R. Kelis is a girl's girl. You can see that with her. And I like that she did check in on her, talked about it, and made her feel better. Supported her like she should be supported, and left it there. And speaking of Kelis and her daughter, they were having a conversation. Apparently, she's trying to reveal to us, again, very performative, about all of the news surrounding her husband, ex-husband now, and all of the articles that have now been leaked to the press. She called the cops on him. He was arrested. I'm not sure what for. Probably was more physical violence, more financial crimes that were committed whilst still married to this guy. And the daughter was, it was very sad to hear what the daughter thought. Not daughter, I kind of stand corrected. Stepchild. The stepchild, because she had this particular girl prior to meeting up with her now ex-husband. And the daughter was like, I don't want to be married. Going by what you have gone through, I don't want to be you, which is quite sad, unfortunate. Is it uncommon? Absolutely not. These are the damages that we as adults make decisions that impact on our children's life in the long run. And we try to correct it. It takes two to tango. Most of the decisions are made not by us. We would rather have it in a different way, but it's sad to see that's not the case here. And I do think that she's on the right path, like, getting her counseling, getting her meditation, which she doesn't like, to help her navigate adult problems. And I hope as she grows older, she gets to understand that, people are different. If they are different, I don't know. If you're asking me, I'm just going to leave it at that. I really don't know. I just feel like if you have to find yourself as a female and, build your self-confidence, stand strong, stand firm, that's the way to go. Not let your emotional or relationship becloud your sense of reasoning and your sense of God. Because if you come on strong, if you're coming from a place of self-confidence, the person you meet is going to only just add to that and not drain all of the positive energy that you're bringing into a relationship, quite frankly. Now, moving on from Kelis and her family dynamics and drama, we go on to Shemia. She's at her house hosting the ladies post the Kenya incident, of course, and she's trying to get the ladies together. Of course, the R&R was well needed, and also to debrief on matters that had, transpired on the, should I say, spa lunch that actually went wrong. Now, who guests that were present, because I know Cynthia is sort of a little bit uninvited at most of this event. Like, we do know she's a friend of the show this season, so again, it didn't really make any sense to actually have her on, but you know what, it is what it is. Kelis was present. Drew came in a little bit later. We're gonna get into Drew a little bit in a little bit, and Shemia was hosting, Angela was present, and they all talked about how this whole situation, was taken, to extremes, and this led to them having to personalize it and internalize how they're going to be moving forward post this whole situation. Kelis did say, okay, in order to get peace to be restored in this group, I'm going to be having a lemon tea kind of soiree at the garden, because now there've been 2 incidents now. One at the restaurant, they literally caused a problem. The restaurateur, called Angela back to say, we don't want you guys anymore. You're going to be causing chaos and putting my brand on the streets for bad reputation. And I guess, again, most of this sort of incidents, you don't want that for your brand, because you're promoting violence, as it were. And I guess that was, Drew came in late, and when Drew came in, of course, there was a frosty atmosphere reception between her and Kenya. But she was questioned by Angela as to how she's going with her situation, and she let them know that they are going through the motion, living separated but living under the same roof is a bit of a challenge. We saw that play out in the next episode just after, and I think they wanted to know where things stood between her and Kenya, given the fact that they were going to be hosting a garden event, a garden tea party. Kenya was like, well, I'm just going to leave it at that, nip it in the bud, not exactly address it. We can coexist in one space and not be friends. So basically, they're going to be riding on. We're not going to be talking to each other. We're not friends. We're just going to coexist, and that's where they're going to leave it. But I don't know how this is going to, or how long it is going to last. I feel like this is not an issue. Kenya, for some reason, Portia is trying to make it an issue because she's got really no storyline. This then led to the girls asking her about her own divorce, and for the life of me, she hasn't been able to pinpoint what caused the divorce. She hasn't. Oh, she's bringing her daughter Pilar into it. She's trying to get Simon to be responsive or communicate with her daughter in this whole crazy situation. And I don't think any human would do that. Mind you, Pilar is not his child. They've only been married for 18 months, if that. Half of that 18 months they were not together with the child. So I don't think a bond has been built, quite frankly. To them, paint Simon as not a responsible father, a stepfather, is malicious. And I don't think we should be using that story or pushing that storyline, to further bring this guy's reputation to disrepute. I don't think so. Because she's trying to say the guy is ignoring her child. No, the guy is not. He's ignoring you. And you are trying to use your child to get him to respond to you. Because you haven't quite told us exactly why you guys are divorcing. And I can tell you why. She found out the guy probably was in a huge amount of debt. She was coming into the franchise back with so much money coming in. She didn't want to share. That is why she's getting a divorce. Might I add? Thank you so much for subscribing to this channel. Stay unlocked in here. Share this channel with your friends. Please, please, please. I need my numbers up. Like, comment, and share. As I always have said, you might be on my next shout out. I'll be giving you a shout out on my next recap sessions. Now let's go back. It ended with her, being very emotional and dramatic about the whole scenario. I'm like, I'm not buying this. Drew, on the other hand, apparently she has a certain time in the month where she has to vacate her home for the streets. I'm joking, guys. Yeah, vacate her home to essentially have Raf come out from the basement, the lower level penthouse, to be with his kids. Now, on this particular situation, apparently they were meant to be, not in communication with each other. They're not meant to cross paths. But they did, because Raf came upstairs while she was still in the house, and conversation regarding exterminator payment was raised, and that caused a bit of a friction, to which she left. Raf is telling us he's handling all the bills. Drew is saying otherwise. And this is my opinion. I think we can actually see Drew bringing money in. She's been on this franchise now for how many years? Raf, on the other hand, I'm yet to see what he does for a living. I don't know what he does for a living. He wrote a book. I don't know how much that sold. That's it. Drew has been in movies. She's now bringing her musical career back to life. Back-to-back movies we've seen. She's dabbled on a few fitness journey, which not all of them has panned out, but she's tried. We can see her earning. So I feel, why are they getting a divorce? Financially, there's a financial abuse somewhere. That's one. And the other one is obviously infidelity. These are the two reasons. And I think the financial abuse is where they are at here. So $400, according to Raf, is what is causing friction. And I'm like, really? Is this necessary? Maybe you guys don't deserve to be with each other. And the fact that she is meant to leave before you show up, and here you are showing up, it's, I don't know. Like, am I missing something here? These two, they have a lot of issues. They need to work it out. And away from our cameras, please. But I think I still have to have share. I need to speak on it because there's comments to be made. And meanwhile, Shemia and Posha had a date where, again, Simon was sort of a point of conversation. We didn't know Simon and Posha had an embryo, although the conversation came up because Shemia talked about growing her family. They're using IVF. She's got an embryo that only has 30% chance of I don't know, implantation. I'm not really sure how this terminology goes. And that brought up Posha's embryo. Do I think Simon and Posha were planning to have a baby? No, it's only been 18 months. There were conversations. Maybe Posha had her egg frozen from Pilar and all of the other situations, but I don't think that's just my opinion. But I you know what? I don't know. But again, Posha isn't really addressing it, and she is just trying to create storylines that is not making sense to me. And I'm just looking through the bullshit. I'm like, yeah, something is not adding up. It's clearly not adding up. Now, towards the end of this particular episode, we saw Shemia having Angela and Drew together at the studio, where the conversation went back to Posha undermining her musical career. Now, because I remember I told you guys her single was played, never had, and Posha sort of questioned if it was her song or Drew's song, and I felt that was out of line. Posha needed to apologize. Apparently the conversation was had backstage off camera, but I think Shemia is still hot by this situation, and Angela bringing it up, you know, kind of made it seem, yeah, it's been amplified. The ladies heard it. You are supposed to be best of friends, and she's sort of not supporting you in the group, and she's making you feel less of yourself. And I will say this, I think Shemia is, she struggles with self-confidence. She's nouveau rich, and nouveau rich means she just only came into money very recently. And so the dynamic now is, because of this nouveau rich, her friends that were her friends before money are now sort of envious and jealous of her. So it's now hard to please these people. She's a people pleaser. She has got very little self-confidence. And coming on the spotlight like this, if you don't have that strength of self, that confidence to navigate through, they're gonna break. And I think the cracks are starting to show so hard. I don't know how this relationship is going to go. We can see the relationship is now fractured. Offline, they're not speaking to each other again. There's something going on there. But how this is going to play out before the season concludes, we're here to find out. She didn't address this during the date with Posha. She feels Posha is still going through her divorce and all of the emotions surrounding that. And that's, again, not addressing it, letting it fester while the other ladies are coming into your ear, you know, making you feel less of yourself, and also questioning your relationship with your so-called best friend, which I highly question. And I can understand why Posha is envious of her. You can see very clear as day. She had everything going for her. Posha hasn't, or she doesn't right now. And so, yeah, it's not a good dynamics of best friend mix. And that's why I don't keep best friends. It's not profitable. It is not. It is not. If it's not profitable for one or both at the same time, it's not profitable for one. So that's where it ends. This particular episode is ended with, again, Brittany going off on Angela. Was it unwarranted? Absolutely, as always. She, like I said, is a train wreck waiting to happen. She's unstable, this woman, very unstable. Now, during the sit down on the garden event, you know, I think they wanted to support her. Apparently, she came on very hostile because the ladies had contacted Kenya. Of course they should. Of course they will. You don't understand that this is a group dynamics. In as much as Kenya did something wrong, they're not just going to ice her out because you're Queen B or you're trying to be Queen B. And so she came in with that energy, that negative energy. And when Angela was talking about the fact that, yeah, we did speak to Kenya, she was like, no, how dare you speak to Kenya? You're not meant to talk to her. You're meant to support just me. Yes. Yes. Who are you? Why should it be about you? Quite frankly, it's not adding up for me. You don't have the right to make your friends choose side. And I don't think they are in this sense. They are supporting everyone as they navigate this whole scenario that was as a result of your overreaction, Brit. And very quickly, Brit went 100 on Angela. Called her names. I was like, how did we get from trying to understand, support you, to now antagonizing Angela? I'm like, I don't even understand. This is where it ends, because there was just no rationalizing with Brit. Now, how did this whole thing went left? Angela, she came for the fact that she said her insurance license was under scrutiny. She's about to lose it. And Angela is also an insurance mortgage broker or whatever. So she knows the market. She's in the business. She knows the game. And she's like, hang on a minute. It's not adding up. I don't think so. Question her. And this is where Brit was like, no, you don't. How dare you question me? You need to accept everything I say, hook, line, and sinker. If I say this is happening, you must support me and say this is happening. And Angela said, no, you don't lose your license like that. Yes, a few pictures came out, but that's not enough for you to lose your license. So you better tell us exactly what is happening behind the scenes or around your business for you to claim that you're losing your license or trying to lose your license. And this was where she piggybacked to say, yeah, Angela called her out for her lies. And she went cuckoo on Angela. This is where it ended. We're going to, I'm sure this whole drama of Brit is not going to end here. Like I said, she's unstable. And I don't want to see her next season. That's my opinion. I don't really, she's not entertaining enough for me. She has a very checkered past that I don't want to emulate or even talk about. It's not interesting. This is my opinion, guys. And what do you think? Come on in the comment section and share your thoughts. I've said a lot. I'll see you guys soon in the next episode. Thank you for watching. Remember, you're deserving. Stay safe and be focused. Bye.